Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So, based on the sources you've provided us, we're diving into, well, a really profound question today, isn't it?
It really is.
How can just one idea actually change the world?
Yeah, it sounds almost impossible at first blush, the sheer scale of it.
Exactly. How does a single thought manage to ripple across history, transform whole societies, cultures, even economies? It feels huge.
It does. But then you start thinking about concrete examples.
Like Einstein or Rosa Parks.
Precisely. Or Steve Jobs and his vision for design. All started as just an idea, a spark.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive essentially is to unpack that, to trace the anatomy of transformation.
See how it goes from inception to, well, echoing globally.
Okay, let's dig in. First off, maybe the fundamental question.
Right.
What is an idea, really? It sounds so abstract.
Well, the tactical source puts it nicely. It calls an idea the bridge between imagination and reality.
A bridge. I like that.
Yeah, it defines them as the driving force behind progress, innovation, and change.
Challenging conventions, solving problems, and reshaping understanding. So it's not just a random thought. It's got potential energy.
That makes sense. It connects really well with that description from Abhidharma Najai too, the invisible angels whispering to our souls.
Oh, that's a beautiful metaphor.
Isn't it? Transforming thoughts, actions, emotions,
Right.
like stones thrown into a lake of humanity, creating waves. It's so vivid.
It really is. And that wave part is key because ideas do ripple outwards.
Right.
Their impact spreads far beyond the starting point, whether they're just whispered or, shouted from the rooftops. They just have this inherent power to travel.
So how does that journey actually happen? From the initial spark to becoming, say, a movement, it seems like there's often a pattern.
There usually is, yes, a kind of life cycle.
It often kicks off with an observation, maybe dissatisfaction, seeing a problem, economic inequality, or a scientific result that just doesn't fit.
Or social injustice. Yeah.
Exactly. And from there, a new thought, a solution, starts to form the conception. It reframes things, but it's almost never smooth sailing from there.
No, definitely not. Ideas almost always hit challenges, right? Rejection, skepticism.
Sometimes real hostility.
Yeah. Then, if it gets traction, it finds advocacy. Champions emerge, scientists, activists, maybe innovators.
People who carry the torch.
Right. And that leads towards adoption, where the idea starts turning into actual policy or new tech or shifting social norms.
And finally, its legacy, how it fundamentally changes structures, values, expectations, really.
That pattern, you can really see it in those examples we started with.
Absolutely. Take Einstein's relativity. He wasn't just tweaking equations. He was brave enough to doubt fundamental, unquestioned truths about space and time.
Stuff everyone just accepted.
Exactly. Newtonian physics. His idea forced a complete rethink, a philosophical shift, really. That cascaded.
Leading to the space, age, GPS, things he probably never imagined.
Right. Or Rosa Parks. A single act, refusing to give up her seat.
A powerful moment.
But it was more than just a moment. It was like a seed planted in soil that was ready. Society was ready for change. It catalyzed the boycotts, the legal challenges.
It really highlights the leverage, doesn't it? One moment, one conceptual leap. It makes you wonder about all the other ideas that have shaped our history.
We should definitely explore some of those.
Yeah, let's take a bit of a historical tour, maybe starting with science.
Okay. Well, going way back, think about René Descartes, his discourse on the method in 1637.
The scientific method itself.
Pretty much, yeah. He codified this idea. Doubt everything, break problems down, analyze thoroughly. It wasn't just an idea in science. It changed how science was done. It shaped the modern world, really.
Wow. Okay, fast forward quite a bit. 1996, Paul Romer.
Ah, yes. The economics of ideas. A huge shift in economic thinking.
How so?
Well, he showed that ideas themselves drive economic growth, unlike, say, raw materials, which are finite.
Right, scarce resource.
Ideas have nearly unlimited potential. They can build on each other, compound, grow endlessly. It challenged the traditional focus on just labor and capital.
That is a fundamental shift. Okay, what about social or political ideas?
Oh, plenty there. Think about Thomas Paine. Common Sense, 1776.
A pamphlet, right, but incredibly influential.
Hugely. His idea of self-governance, written in language everyone could grasp. It wasn't just read, it resonated.
United revolutionaries.
Across the Atlantic, America, Britain, France. An idea literally crossing oceans and sparking revolutions. It's quite amazing.
And then you have figures like Marx saying philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point is to change it.
Exactly. It underscores that ideas themselves, not just systems, are often the seeds of that change, the initial catalyst.
It's not always about complex systems. Sometimes it's the core belief that shifts things. What about cultural ideas or human rights?
Well, think about JFK in 61, that challenge. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Still resonates today.
It really does.
Yeah.
Or go way back to Buddha. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world.
Wow.
These weren't laws or treaties. They were ideas inserted directly into our moral and cultural fabric. They changed how people saw themselves, their responsibilities, their reality.
It's incredible how these concepts, ancient or modern, can just fundamentally alter collective thinking. You know, it also strikes me that not all big ideas land with a bang.
That's a very important point.
Sometimes it's the quieter ones, the small stones, right? That, quote, small successes are stepping stones.
Yes. And Van Gogh put it beautifully. Great things are done by a series of small things brought together.
So it's not always a revolution.
Exactly. It reinforces this concept of micro-ideas, incremental changes, iterative improvements. They add up. They compound over time.
Like layers building up.
Think about open source software or gradual improvements in, say, solar panel efficiency.
Yeah.
Lots of small steps leading to a big impact eventually.
But even those small ideas, or the big ones, that journey isn't usually straightforward, is it? There's resistance.
Oh, absolutely. That Wired article you mentioned, Don't Despair, Big Ideas Can Still Change the World, really highlights how entrenched beliefs resist.
Yeah.
Whether it's a big economic philosophy like neoliberalism or something scientifically critical like climate change, new ideas often face, well, fierce inertia.
People get comfortable with the status quo.
They do. It reminds me of Max Planck, the physicist. He had that famous, slightly cynical observation.
Oh, the one about opponents dying off.
That's the one. A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents, but because its opponents eventually die.
A bit bleak, but it does highlight the sheer force of that resistance.
It does. But it also tells us something about patience, persistence. It takes time to overcome that inertia. It's often a long game.
So, given that inertia, how do ideas break through? What actually helps them gain traction, especially when the old ways start to wobble?
Well, several factors often accelerate adoption. Crises are a big one.
Like economic collapses or pandemic.
Exactly. Moments when the old paradigms clearly aren't working anymore. People become much more open to new solutions.
Necessity is the mother of invention, or adoption in this case.
You could say that. Then there are networks. Ideas spread through connections, communities, academic circles, diaspora groups, now digital platforms.
Relationships matter.
Vitally. And, as we touched on, champions. Individuals who embody the idea. Mandela, Parks, maybe thinkers like Hannah Arendt, inventors like Tesla.
People who make it real give it a face.
They render the invisible seen. They advocate tirelessly.
And you mentioned digital platforms. The digital age must be a huge accelerator now.
Oh, massively. It just exponentially increases the reach of an idea. Hossein Jamali and others talk about platforms bringing diverse minds together globally.
So collaboration speeds up.
Collaboration, refinement, spread.
Yeah.
It's all amplified. A real game changer for how ideas travel.
Okay, so bringing this all together, what does this mean for, for you listening? How can you actually spark change with an idea?
That really is the crucial takeaway, isn't it? How to apply this. Based on what we've discussed, maybe 5 practical things come to mind.
Okay.
First, be a thinker. Make space for solitude, for questioning, for reflection. Like Emerson said in Self-Reliance, trust your own thoughts.
Don't just accept the status quo.
Right. Second, share bravely. Write it down, speak it out, record it. Remember Thomas Paine, even a fraction of that courage to put ideas out there can make a difference.
Get it out of your head and into the world.
Exactly. Third, build community. Find your collaborators. Diverse perspective, strengthen and amplify ideas.
Don't go it alone.
Pretty much. Fourth, be patient. Remember Planck, ideas often need time to germinate and take root. Don't get discouraged easily.
It's a marathon.
It often is. And finally, number 5, embrace small steps. Celebrate those micro breakthroughs. They build momentum, just like Van Gogh suggested.
Your small wins add up.
They absolutely do.
Those are really actionable points. It feels like even small daily actions count, right? Sharing a different viewpoint, questioning an assumption kindly, maybe helping someone else think differently.
That's exactly it. That's how tipping points begin.
Mm-hmm.
Small, consistent actions.
So we started this deep dive asking how one idea can change the world. And the answer seems to be Well, it travels.
It travels through people, through ripples of influence, through sheer conviction. So
Yeah.
maybe the final thought, the challenge for you listening today is this. Hoist your own lantern.
Hmm.
Invite curiosity. Make real space in your life to actually ideate.
Mm.
And then tell someone. Share it.
Because that one thought, that little spark you nurture, it really could be the start of something amazing, something
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Okay.
Our mission here is always to enrich minds and spark that curiosity. And it really does start with you and with your idea.